This is Andrew Hall. You're listening to Dead Hand Radio. My guests for this episode are Jeremy McGowan and Sean Cahill. This recording took place on site in Las Vegas, the night before Jeremy and Sean set out on their quest in pursuit of unidentified aerial phenomena, and it commemorates the launch of their new project. Along with a team of talented professionals, a camera crew, and the use of some high-tech instruments, including a SkyHub unit mounted to an off-road vehicle named OSIRIS. These two are attempting to locate, observe, and document anomalous activity in our skies. During our conversation, we get into why and how the OSIRIS Project came into being and what the goals are for the project. We discussed how this expedition has evolved from one man's passion for documenting the phenomena into building a team of professionals and ultimately becoming a full-blown film production. We talk about the support team and their various roles, some of the locations and people they'll meet along the way, and we detail what it could mean should they succeed in their quest for truth, not only for the team, but for all those following the story as it unfolds. And now, I invite you to join me for an all-new UFO edition of Dead Hand Radio and find out more about these extraordinary individuals and their pursuit of UAP. Thanks for listening. This is Dead Hand Radio, and I'm here with Sean Cahill, Jeremy McGowan, on their inaugural night before they start the venture on hunting UFOs with the OSIRIS Project. The mobile SkyHub unit, the first in existence as far as I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah,
first absolutely.
Of its kind. First one, first. It's like the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters, man. It's
How excited are you about this?
I am stoked.
I got in yesterday, and Jeremy and I, we just met for the first time yesterday. So I landed, and I knew, he's texting me. I knew where the baggage claim was. And I saw him, and I recognized him. We immediately, got the good bro hug in. But I wanted to see the OSIRIS, because what Jeremy is able to do is so far outside the realm of what I'm capable of, that it blows my mind. He is a mad scientist without the mad. He's got it right. I'll let him explain what the OSIRIS is, but let me just say that I'm not a techie. I'm a words guy and a big picture plan guy, and he's amazing. Everybody needs a mad scientist like this. Jeremy's incredible.
Man, I wish I could take credit for it, man, but I'm just riding on the coattails of people that have developed and designed this stuff. I just looked at what they built and I said, shit, let's put this on wheels.
Wow.
So
I mean, you can't say that without giving a shout out to Steve McDaniel and everybody else.
The guys at SkyHub, absolutely. They developed the SkyHub unit, which is a sensor stack that incorporates visual recognition, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and everything. And it was designed to go on your roof of your house or out in the pasture field or some sort of steady state type of environment. And I looked at it and I was like, man, I am not that patient. I want to drive this thing. So that's exactly what I did. I started drilling holes in the roof of my car and shoving wires and antennas through it, and I integrated a SkyHub into my vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen only photos of it. I haven't seen the actual unit itself, but what impressed me when you gave the talk for the MUFON group.
Yeah,
he came to the local MUFON group and presented the SkyHub,
mm-hmm.
and this dude is a techie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
no,
yeah.
I am surrounded by people
your
in
stuff.
No, man, I'm surrounded by people in my daily life who make me look like I'm Chucky playing with Play-Doh.
That's cute, but you had a Geiger counter already.
Okay,
and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I acquire devices here and there. I mean,
when I pulled out these microphones, you knew
The brand.
Sennheiser, man, this is good stuff. You got
mean
some
the brand?
quality
Okay,
stuff.
I didn't
here.
even know the brand.
Yeah.
I didn't know what brand to get. I just went to the store, talked to the guy, said, I need some mics that I can connect to my H5.
Yeah.
He said, get these.
Yeah,
Well, okay, I'll get
You
those.
got the right
man.
ones.
Well,
Well, we haven't been able to stump you yet, and you've been stumping SkyHub the whole time. I mean, we were on top of a mountain today, and there's no cell signal or anything, but somehow his vehicle has Wi-Fi and he's got an Iridium phone. So anyway, we're just up in the chat looking for help from SkyHub, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm on a mountain taking pictures of a mobile UAP detection unit with my drone while chatting to the programmers who developed it. It's just, this is because of Jeremy. And he's not going to take credit. He won't let himself take credit for this, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. But Jeremy would.
yeah.
If you and I weren't here talking tonight, Jeremy would be cranking a wrench under that hood, putting laser cannons on the back of it, and a tractor beam on the front.
You might need those, huh?
I might have those.
I bet you do.
Yeah. Right on. So, that brings up a ton of questions for me, but the brainchild for making this into a movie, I know it was your idea to put it on wheels and to go out and take it to remote places and do the tracking.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to make a movie out of it?
Man, that is, I'm still trying to figure all this out. So I've been developing a little bit of a following, not through any effort of my own, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with some of the previous experiences I've had here with you on Dead Hand Radio and some of the other podcasts that I've done. And I had a guy reach out to me. His name is Jake Mann. And
It's redacted.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him before, and
Awesome
I had never
YouTube channel.
I had never
Good guy.
listened to his or watched his YouTube channel. Never heard of it because I've said it before. I've never gone down this rabbit hole. I wasn't the UFO guy. I didn't read the books. I didn't know the key players or anything. But anyway, this guy, Jake Mann, calls me up and he's like, hey, I'd like to get you on. I'd like to talk to you about this and things like that. And I find out that he's a producer and he's done a lot of productions for his own YouTube channel called It's Redacted. And I was like, yeah, sure. Let's put something together. Let's talk about it and let's see where it goes. And he had known that I was working on the SkyHub unit and that I was just kind of tweaking things. And I told him what my plan was, that I was going to drive around and visit whatever areas I could get access to and try to study them with the SkyHub unit. And he just kind of jumps on board. He was like, man, let's make a film about this. Let's do this as part of a YouTube Red distribution or put it up as a webisode or something like that. And it just kind of grew from there. And then we got another phone call, or I got another phone call from I Believe in Humans. And these guys are cinematographers and directors, and they have the actual camera gear and the equipment and full crews, and they've done things for Netflix original series, and they've shot music videos for Shania Twain, and they brought the cinematographic expertise in that we didn't have, and where we were looking at this as shooting on it with iPhones and GoPros, they're bringing in Red Epics and stuff now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
we kind of bumped. We had been talking on the phone for a while, and Jeremy was talking to Jake and Justin and these guys, and I didn't know at the time that Jeremy was already talking to Steve and the other folks at SkyHub, and that was when I got involved with and came on with SkyHub as an advisor for a little while. And me and Steve started talking about developing a media campaign, just some short hits for them. And I thought that it would be most advantageous for us to find a person who was building a SkyHub and go along that journey with them. And it turned out Jeremy I can't remember if you were already building it when you and I think you were like, oh, well, I'm already doing that.
Yeah, I think and Andrew, you're the guy that introduced me to SkyHub.
Thanks.
It was on your podcast. And,
That's really neat.
And you had asked me a question about what I thought was necessary in the next step of disclosure. And I I can't remember the exact words I said, but I said something along the lines of that we needed some sort of standardized reporting and recording platform that, everybody from Belarus to Moscow to Argentina could use the exact same type of stuff, so we could get rid of shaky iPhone videos and things like that. And that's when you looked up at me and you were like, have you heard of SkyHub? I'm like, no, I haven't. And while we were while I was recording the podcast with you over Zoom on my other monitor, I was like Googling skyhub.com, and I was like, or skyhub.org, and I was like, what is this? And I was reading it as we're on the podcast. And I think probably before the end of the week was up, I had started ordering parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we it really worked out perfectly because it's funny because Jake from It's Redacted was also helping out SkyHub, and he was helping them out from a media standpoint, but in a little different direction. And so it ended up being one of those things where we kind of threw a few duties around with each other and traded a few things, and then I was in a chat with Jeremy and Jake. And then we had this chat called The Project or something like that. We weren't sure what it was going to be.
The movie project.
Yeah. And we were trying to figure out, not make the same mistakes we've seen other people make, not redo things that we've already done. We don't want to be redundant. We're not, again, one of the words that's going around UFO Twitter this week is infotainment, because Lou's been talking about it on Ryan Sprague's podcast. And because infotainment is information that's entertaining. It doesn't have to be completely dry. We're not talking about nonsense or BS. But I digress with that. We realized that we were all doing the same thing. And Jeremy was kind of like, well, you should still come out here. We should still do this. And he's like, what are you doing afterward? And I said, well, I'm heading on to somebody else's house for another project. And I was like, but you guys, if you guys need any help, let me know. And I never saw myself sitting in the right seat. We had a couple of other people we were talking to, and thought maybe things were going to go in a possibly different direction. Before you know it, Jeremy was kind of like, "You want to come with me?" And I was like, "Well, hell, yeah, man, absolutely, I would love to come with you." Like, I hadn't even considered it, and from that day on, it has been almost magical. I mean,
I've started a lot of projects over the course of my almost 50 years of existence, and I've had companies in South America, and I've started and failed a lot of things, and some of them succeeded, but I remember that none of them were easy. Everything throws up roadblocks in front of you, man. I mean, whether it's funding or getting people to buy into your vision, or investors, or whatever it is, there's always an issue. There's always a roadblock. And for some reason, there has not been a no. There has not been anybody stepping up and saying, don't do this, or I don't believe in it, or I'm not going to give you the time of day. Or anybody that I've talked to, anybody that we've talked to, anybody that we've worked with was like, yeah, let's do this. And it's weird. It's the feeling like the universe is saying, we want you to do this.
Yeah. There have, I don't want to say it's been easy, but from my standpoint, it has. Because between Jeremy and Jake, they're both just incredibly tenacious networkers. I'm somebody who's going to think about something that takes 10 seconds for an hour sometimes. I can definitely overthink some things. Jeremy is the kind of guy that picks up the phone and just asks. He just finds out who has the answer. He calls them immediately and he asks. And if they say they don't know, he asks them who to call next. And he doesn't stop until he gets the answer he needs. And it's insane, because it's almost like someone said to you, do you believe that you could keep adding 1 to 1 and get bigger numbers? And you're like, no, it's got to stop somewhere. No, Jeremy does not stop. He just keeps adding on to this thing that he's building until it has a life of its own. We keep getting bombarded. It gets a little weird, but everybody's like, I can't believe that the thing we discussed needing at 9 a.m. this morning called me by itself and showed up, and it landed on my doorstep, sight unseen.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of serendipity or synchronicities in this. It's mind blowing.
Well, it's certainly a heavily anticipated project that people. I mean, you guys set up that Twitter channel for the project itself.
Yeah, untitled UAP.
Yeah, and within a couple of days, you had over 500 subscribers, right, or followers on it.
And it's untitled UAP simply because we don't have a name for it.
Yeah.
We've been really fortunate. Both of us were given an opportunity really early on to just be ourselves. That other TV show we did, Unidentified, both of us got to be ourselves, and Lou made really sure to safeguard our integrity and how we were seen.
Yeah.
But after that, it was up to us how we spoke to people, how we present ourselves to people. And when Jeremy first reached out to me on Twitter, I didn't know who he was. I had actually seen his episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually watched it with Lou. And funny enough, Lou was texting Jeremy the wisecracks that I was making about the show or something while we were watching it. But I asked Lou, I was like, who is this guy? And he's like, oh, that's you 2 years ago. He's like, he is exactly in the spot you were at. And I was like, oh, this dude needs a friend. This dude needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, man, give him a call. And I've got a very strong handful of friends. Another one of them sitting in the room with us in the back as our audience tonight. And he'll be one of the first people to tell you that I don't pick up the phone. And he's somebody I'd love for sure. Like I keep him around, you know. I don't pick up the phone. Maybe 5 days have gone by in the last 6 months that I haven't talked to this guy, whether in text or on voice.
I talked to Sean probably more than I talked to my wife.
Wow.
And we have almost opposite political views. Not completely. We have a middle ground in our moral and worldview that I think both of us hold on to very dearly. Very, you know.
It's because we both have kids.
That, I mean, yeah, no, most certainly. It's that, and I think it's our background in you know, serving in the military, that we have a common. There's a common understanding that there's a mission at each point. There's a mission to be seen, and there's compromise to get the mission done. And so I don't anticipate any kind of friction because of that. I think that we're actually going to be able to find answers that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise by shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I had asked Sean to participate in this whatever this is I told him, because we had been talking for months prior to me saying, hey, do you want to come on board with this? And I told him that I was like, not only do I want you as part of this project, but I'm fairly certain that I need you as part of this project because I am a hammer. I'm not a humanistic type of guy. There's a vast majority of the population that I don't really like. I don't like people that much. And this is a guy who makes YouTube videos about meditation and loving your neighbor and everything that I'm not. And when I go out and I end up inevitably in front of somebody who is proclaiming that they can do CE5 protocols and call down something, I mean, my brain wants to look at them and punch them in the throat and call them out on their crap. And I need Sean to be able to temper that and to give me the opportunity to hear those people out.
I think Jeremy's really hard on himself, but I understand where he's coming from. And I'm not a big fan of people who say my journey, but in this case, I think it's a pretty accurate statement that my journey from 2004 to the Tic Tac incident in 2004 all the way up to 2017 when Lou and everybody stepped out on stage and that infamous New York Times article hit, to now, that the learning curve at some point I often say it becomes almost vertical, because you nearly need a collegiate level of understanding in such a major amount of disparate areas that it's almost impossible that anyone would have put all these areas together into one thing. But all of the research shows that we're dealing with something that doesn't necessarily have a pinpoint answer to it. And so to wrap our heads around it, I almost think it's going to take all of us. And I know 8 billion of anything should be able to solve any problem out there. But I think it's going to take almost that many perspectives.
How do you get that many people to work together, though?
That's where the learning curve is, and I think the first thing needs to begin with education. And that I think that we've seen the last couple of years, a lot of us, including yourself and Jeremy, we've worked really hard to destigmatize the subject, and you've moved into the subject. You're one of those folks that went, there might be something legitimate here, and I've got a completely understandable mainstream message, and you've been courageous enough to try something new. We have to educate people that, first of all, this is real. Secondly, not to be ashamed of it. And thirdly, none of us know what's going on, so come on up with your weird stories, but let's stop telling each other that all of our anecdotal stories are true.
Right.
Because they might be a memory, and they might feel like a true event to each of us as individuals, but until the time that we can actually prove an anecdotal event to another human being, it is just that. And it's not fair for us to tell someone else that we know the truth because we saw it.
Yeah, and we don't even know how to define truth yet. The truth may well be at an individual level. And your truth might be different from my truth, might be different from Sean's truth, based on how we observe the world.
Yeah.
You know, who is to say that this microphone color that I think all three of us are going to say is the color blue, who's to say that it looks the same to you as it does to you as it does to me?
Right.
My reality could be completely different from yours. So I think one of the first things that we want to accomplish in this film project is to help create a baseline of education for the general population, and I don't mean just Americans. I mean this planet. Mm-hmm. We need to create a fundamental baseline layer that everybody can look at and say, okay, I can accept this. Mm-hmm. What's next? And then we just gradually raise that bar a little bit every step that we go. And as we find answers, we figure out how to incorporate those answers into the stair step that we're building for the general population.
I'm not sure how many days we are into the 180-day UAPTF report, the expectation of that date, probably somewhere around the 160 range. But I look to the UAPTF and the report that's coming out to really just drop a huge piece of bedrock down for us to start building upon, because it's going to be only the second or third time that any government, any major government in the world has admitted that unidentified aerial phenomena, as Lou said recently, not balloons, not unmanned aerial systems, not Russia, not China, that's something completely unknown and frankly unaccounted for in any arsenal was operating. Now, the government has agreed, and I don't usually like saying the government as an edifice, but our government has agreed to give us some answers on that for the first time. Not everyone understands that. That's still something that's not coming out on all of the news shows. Some of them have picked it up already, that are more concerned with defense-related items, but not all of them have. And so that's another place that we have to start. So I think part of the vision that Jeremy and I have for this is that we have a little bit more insight. Not anyone else's truth, but a little bit more insight. Mm-hmm. And so if we're able to put our money and our equipment and our time on the line to go out there and put ourselves in positions where we can meet people, have the conversations, and have demonstrations, conduct experiments, and learn about the history of some of these things, especially within the heartland of the United States, people are going to understand that. They're going to be able to learn along with it and resonate it. And if they take that in concert with what the UAPTF and other governmental entities that are going to end up getting involved in this, because it's getting a great deal of attention. Yeah. I believe that's where the education is going to really open up, and people are going to start really beginning to express themselves and tell us what they've been through.
And the government has always been lacking on its ability to educate. The government can train, the government can act. The government's not really good on education. So I think that responsibility is going to fall onto the civilian population to be able to bootstrap themselves into a position of understanding. And if people like Sean and I can get in there, and if we can understand it in a way that we can turn around and help explain it, I think that we can fill a gap that the population needs.
Yeah, you were talking about establishing a baseline of education for the general population. There's already a wider acceptance of the UFO phenomena, and within the growing community of the UFO community. That community is growing gradually and slowly. What do you think it's going to take to reach a broader audience? I mean, we've had New York Times talking about it. We've had television news outlets talking about it. But we still have the majority, the vast majority of people in our country alone, not even talking about, countries like China, which, those people don't even get the truth from their government. Mm-hmm. What do you think it's going to take to, first of all, get that word out on a broader scale, and then also to have it accepted by those people that are hearing it?
I think that's going to be very challenging, because what we need to be doing at this point is mending bridges, building more bridges, and bringing more people into this conversation. And there's some cadres within the UFO community. Some won't speak to people who were formerly military because they believe that we're part of some greater cover-up complex. Sorry to say, we're just your friends, neighbors, brothers, and sisters.
Even people on the civilian side of the world are like that. I've gotten accused numerous times of being part of a cover-up operation.
Right. So there's a stigmatism.
Yes.
Or a stigma. I don't know what the right word is.
Sure.
Directed at people that are prior military. Well, so trying to.
There are people that believe, and rightfully so, that a civilian observer is as accurate or as valuable as a military trained observer, because, and that's not necessarily the case, but in a lot of circumstances it could. You could be a police officer, or a private investigator, or you could be somebody whose career field is dealing with details and pattern recognition. But by and large, for the most part, we go through, the military folks go through a process by which we understand the fallibility of our senses, and we have training to compensate for that. But sadly, these people that believe this are looking at us, because of our involvement in the military, that we have been somehow co-opted into covering for the phenomenon and making it an obscure idea.
Well, and then we have to also, we're talking obviously about polarized groups, the edges of things. I don't want to say fringe, because that usually gives it a negative tone. But we're talking about people who chose to join the military and serve and have an interaction with the phenomenon are certainly at one end of this conversation. But the greater experiencer, the self-identified experiencer community, is it's an excellent snapshot of the diversity of humanity within the differences of opinion, claims. It's bridging the gap between those of us who have given, let's say, official reports to an investigative agency about UAP versus someone who has had a lot of experiences and has started a blog or something. In the end, the American public is going to listen to the folks that probably served with the government as a whole. I don't think that we need to have those two groups be completely separate. I think that the two groups actually need to see where they overlap.
Yeah, and it may not be as much of a trained observer as a trained communicator.
Yeah, an
Because
interlocutor.
in the military, we're dealing with, as well, in the American military, we're dealing with, 20 to 30 different cultures at any given time. And then our stations that we have that we've been deployed to, we're all over the planet. So we have to be able to understand how to interact and talk to everybody from all walks of life. And somebody who may have grown up in the bayou of southern Louisiana and had a legitimate experience, they may not understand how to express that and how to get that version of their truth out to the rest of the public. So
I think in some ways UAP needs a separation of church and state.
Yeah.
We need to. There's a lot of this that people have their feelings tied up into. They have their spirituality, they have their safety, and for some people their sense of adoration or worship is tied up in this. It's not the same for everybody. I don't worship unidentified aerial phenomenon. My personal spiritual practices are personal, but I try really hard not to have them bleed into the science and the evidentiary value of this. So I would really love to see all of us be willing to delineate between those spiritual aspects and the nuts and bolts science aspects. And unfortunately, I meet a lot of charismatic people who have very deeply held beliefs, who refuse to talk about the nuts and bolts aspect without the spiritual aspect. And it makes it hard to get across to everybody. That's, I think, the nicest way I could put it. We alienate a lot of folks when we're not willing to stay on topic.
Is there... I know what my opinion of it is, but when you talk about the spiritual aspect of it and the nuts and bolts aspect of it, is there a separation? I mean...
Well, I think there is in our culture.
Okay.
Because if I told you that it took faith of some kind, I'm just making this up as I go along right now. I'm trying to form a metaphor while we're talking, so I don't want anybody to be thinking I'm giving a truth or something like that here. But if I told you that it took faith and intention to drive your car, you'd say I was crazy. So the nuts and bolts aspect is the car. But if I told you that it took attention to drive your car, then you might agree with me. And if I started changing the words around, you might agree with me that it takes more than just your hands and a driver's license and a little bit of knowledge to drive your car. It takes spatial awareness. It takes an almost sixth sense about when that kid's going to jump out into the street from behind that tree and all of those other things. Those are the very edges of our perception when it comes to this life. That's about as far as most of us get into weird things like that. But there seems to be an aspect of this phenomenon that is able to enter and exit this reality. Now, to me, that's indicative of another place in this reality that it was in for a period of time, or another state that it was in for a period of time that I don't have direct access to. The only place that I can think of that I have direct access to that's anything like that is my dreamscape. Now, I'm someone who practices meditation and practices some of the more esoteric forms of meditation that allow you to anecdotally maintain consciousness in what most people would consider a body asleep, mind awake state. And I can say from anecdotally that that's a very different place than where most of us spend our daily lives. So to me, I'm pretty sure that there's an elsewhere, and I'm pretty sure that this phenomenon engages in that elsewhere with a heck of a lot more control than I'm able to. And frankly, after explaining all that, I think I forgot the question.
Well, the question is kind of a bifurcation between the nuts and bolts and the phenomena aspect. And while I am accepting with an A, everything that Sean is putting forth, I also have a personal feeling that there is a very tangible nuts and bolts aspect, not to the phenomenon, but I think that there is something happening outside of the phenomena. I truly believe that there are probably spacefaring civilizations that use ballistic propulsion of some sort to travel the universe, and they've been here, maybe they are here, they're coming back, I don't know, but I think that that's probably separate from what we're classifying as the phenomenon, but also erroneously lumping in this nuts and bolts into the umbrella of the phenomenon. And I think it's separate, and I actually believe that the nuts and bolts spacefaring civilizations are more than likely just as subject to the phenomena as we are.
Well, I think that's where our two worldviews, I think, mesh really well, is because that is essentially what I was talking about, in that whatever we call the phenomena that is not a spaceship, the quote unquote weirder aspects of this, I have a feeling that those things and the nuts and bolts things that we want to call spaceships are utilizing the same medium in the way that we utilize the ocean, fish utilize the ocean, birds utilize the ocean, but not all of us live in that medium. We utilize it for travel or for ease of travel. I mean, for a long time, most of our goods moved on the sea, and we are not an aquatic species. Not for a long time, it would seem, but that it just brings me around to the fact that when we talk about a learning curve, there are people that are saying the phenomenon, that are putting all of those things under the same umbrella. And to other people, the phenomenon only means one shape of spaceship and one kind of alien that's their flavor. And I don't usually use the word alien, but for ease of use, I'll say that tonight. So I don't know what that means. As an investigator and a police officer, I've taken so many witness statements about the phenomenon in the past couple of years from people, and the only thing that I'm sure of is it's real. I couldn't tell you what color, flavor, size, shape, spin, or language it speaks. There are some things that fall out. You know, there is an affinity to water. I think we've all learned that there is an affinity to our nuclear assets. I'm really interested to see more international data come through on that. But we're dealing with something that for the first time we're looking at in the face, and it's not going to be one thing.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the aspects that we're really looking at in this film project, is to be able to, if all goes well, to be able to classify and compartmentalize and separate different aspects of the phenomena into their own subcategories. You know, the manifestations of dire wolves and skinwalkers into one category, the manifestation or the appearance of triangles and saucers into a different category, or maybe two different categories, and to be able to really break it down into a way that people can start seeing the different layers and the different density that this exists with.
How about if you guys talk about a little bit about some of the methods you're going to use to test and do you have so is that your hypothesis then going into this?
We have some that are proprietary. We don't want to necessarily mention, but I think it's obvious that based on what we were just talking about a minute ago, that it would seem that there's an interest in our nuclear facilities.
Yeah.
It was pretty obvious to Jeremy and I that, well, what we're able to measure about our nuclear facilities is certain radiation, gamma and X-ray radiation. And on the other hand, the obvious nature of the things that are contained there and their destructive abilities, whether it be a weapon or an accidental meltdown at a reactor, those are a big deal. So as of right now, Occam's razor tells us those are the only things that we can figure out that we're looking for. So we're interested in legal means of reproducing those signatures to see if it's possible to bait the phenomenon. the means of doing that in a legal and safe fashion have proven to be pretty complicated so far.
Historically, humanity and in the media, television shows and movies and such have always been passively recording things, hoping to see something appear in the sky, or grabbing witnesses' cell phone recording and shaky, blurry video and putting that off and showing it. But I'm personally very tired in being passive about this. I want to poke the bear. I want to see if we can, put out a bird call and catch the wren.
You guys are this venture that you're going on is for a week. Is that all the filming that you're going to do?
No. This is we've broken it down into several different shoots, and this first week is just simply shoot 1. Shoot 2 and any subsequent shoots are going to be more location and investigative based. But shoot 1 is
Shoot 1's going to be pretty special.
Yeah.
I think people are going to look back on it and be really happy that they got to be a part of it. I would say that shoot 2 is where the rubber's really going to hit the road. Mm-hmm. The witnesses and spokespersons that Jeremy and Jake and Justin and Dustin have reached out and networked with are incredible. Whether former members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, major players within remote viewing and special forces within the government,
even tribal Native American Indians that were part of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works or Douglas Aircraft, and leaders of the Mormon church community, just trying to get an all-encompassing view that can help us lay that baseline.
The fact that that some of our indigenous elders are willing to invite us, and we've been invited. We've made very clear that we intend to safeguard the dignity of their traditions at all costs, to the point where if it's contrary, this is one of the few places that I would say Jeremy and I would not bring forth evidence that we had if it was contrary to the dignity of the indigenous people of North and South America.
Yeah, to that point, we have made a pact amongst ourselves that at any point in time that we recover information, that we find information, unless we are physically or legally prevented from doing so, we're going to show the world what we've found.
Absolutely. I mean, our SkyHub, it goes directly to the cloud. Yeah. We can't stop the data that we collect.
We don't even own the data.
No, we don't.
Right.
It's dang. I mean, it's SkyHub owns it.
Yeah.
But Steve has no intention of making any of that data secret.
No,
not at all. He is vehemently against that.
Yeah.
So your level of commitment, and I'll pose it to you in a question like this. If you guys go out for a whole week and you don't record anything other than what's already out there, planes and satellites and things that we know about, mm-hmm. What is your level of commitment going forward if you guys hit a big zero on this one?
I think that we have to understand that shoot 1 is not investigative. Shoot 2 is going to be investigative. And I think that, and this will all be clear once people hear this and they see the show or the series and they look back on this interview, that based on what happens in shoot 1 and where we go in shoot 2, I'm going to be surprised if we don't find something.
I would agree with that completely, but at the same time, we have been smart enough, if I may say so, to set out a framework where we will shoot the framework that we've set out. We've left enough room for creativity and individuality and serendipity to come to play. But I think one of the things that you're asking is what happens if X amount of time goes by and we haven't made any progress. I can tell you that one thing that's not going to happen with me, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for Jeremy. I see him nodding right here. we don't intend to make careers in ufology. We're not looking to be ufologists.
I am never going to come out with a book or a tape or a show or a series and sell you truth for $333.33.
Yeah,
I am not going to do that. If I don't have anything, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, and I don't want to disparage anybody else, but I can see within ufology that there are folks who had genuine experiences that changed their world. And then in many ways it seemed like they chased that dragon for years and never caught it. For some it seems like they were willing to blur the lines of credibility to get a little bit more of that dopamine. And for other folks, it's a desperate search for more. I'm a pensioner. I mean, I'm neither of us have made a nickel off of these ventures so far, and in fact, both of us are thousands and thousands of dollars invested into this.
Yeah, Andrew, how come you're not paying us for this?
Man, when the day I get paid for it, you guys will get your stipend. Okay.
I can tell you this: that if I fear that my integrity isn't going to be leading, and that my authenticity isn't going to be leading, you're just not going to see me anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to go home.
I have always said that I am in this for my personal answers. And I was building an integrated mobile SkyHub before I had a director and a producer and a damn good friend involved with this. And I was going to go out and I was going to half-ass this thing and try to figure out answers for myself without any support whatsoever.
We're going to whole ass
For the
it
record,
Yeah,
for the record, Jeremy's half-ass is like
now. It's amazing.
11 for most people.
Well, now, like Sean said, we're going to whole ass this thing, and because we have a film crew, because we have producers and directors and some of the most amazing professionals in the industry possible, it's not about the money; it's about the access. Now, my producer can call up, a curator from a museum and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Are you interested in working with us? Whereas before it would have just been some dummy with a Gmail account that nobody's ever heard of asking the exact same questions and getting shut down. Yeah. So the train enables the process.
Well, and we definitely feel like there's a burden we carry, and I don't mean to say burden like, oh my God, we're martyrs. We know that a lot of people are looking at this whole thing vicariously through the two of us. They're counting on us to be real. They're counting on us to tell them the truth, to look them in the eye and not bullshit them. And that's important to me. Yeah. That's really important to me.
Yeah, I don't want to put out anything that's not true, that's not real, and I know it's going to be virtually impossible to do so because getting something on film once is hard, if not unheard of. I want to repeat it, and I want to repeat it multiple times because I want to show that this is a repeatable, verifiable thing that is happening.
Debunkable with
yes.
with all of the things that we've quote unquote preached in the last couple of years about knowing what's in the sky, knowing your radar, knowing what's on infrared, understanding the spectrum and how it operates. We want people to prove us wrong. We want people to see what we are calling authentic, and if we're wrong, we're the first ones that will agree and take it down.
Yeah.
So, we're riding a fine line between that need to advertise because you want to get the word out there.
Yeah.
And entertainment and sensationalism, unfortunately, are bedfellows, and we don't want any sensationalism. Right. We don't mind entertaining, but it's tough because we all grew up in the same world. I think some of the things that we all expect to see on TV and that feel natural and everything else, they're entertainment, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we don't want to be a boring docu-follow. I mean, Sean's a cut-up. I'm a cut-up to a point. I guess I'm the straight guy in this. Well, we won't even go there, but...
Oh, boy, Jeremy.
But, we're going to have fun doing this. And I certainly hope that the fun comes across.
So it sounds to me like the documentary is more about searching for the truth rather than actually proving anything.
It's both, really. I think one, if we find the truth, we need to prove the truth, and I don't even know if it's a documentary. It is. I don't even know if we know what it is yet.
Well, we set out. When I say we, I mean everybody but Jeremy. We talk about it that this is Jeremy's journey, and that this is Jeremy's story, and none of us like the spotlight being put on him too much, so I won't stick on him too much, but it really is, because we're picking this up with Jeremy's questions, and it's Jeremy's organic nature in this that's driving us forward to ask new questions. And so I'm going to be sitting next to him, but this is really about honestly watching Jeremy as he goes along and learns these things and talks to these people for the first time, has his impressions and comes to his conclusions, and the conversations that we have in that framework. But I think that we've just been really lucky with our group of folks is that we've put enough mile markers down the highway that we won't get lost on that journey. So while it's not a manipulative narrative of any sort, there is a sense that it has to flow, it has to make sense, but since we're putting this onus of authenticity on top of it, it's even more important that we hit those wickets along the way. So the provability aspect, we'd be billionaires if we could prove this phenomenon. Granted, that's not what the two of us are aiming for, but that's how big that would be if someone were able to prove something. I'm very fond of saying that proof is personal, because all of us can agree in this room without picking a divisive item that there are things that people in our country disagree upon that some of us know to be true and others are sure that they're false. So we found ourselves in a world where the truth is kind of broken. So I don't think either of us are setting out making a claim that we would prove anything. We want to bring a lot of evidence to the table, and we want everybody else to help us decide what we're seeing.
Yeah, there are so many issues that I have with other programs. I won't name them by name. Just I don't want to disparage them or their producers or anything like that. But there are programs that are out there that just posit hypotheticals and what if this was true and what if that was true and maybe this occurred, maybe it didn't. That's not where I want to go with this. You know, like I said before, I want to find evidence, hard evidence that the plumber in Poughkeepsie can understand just as well as the doctor in Manhattan can digest the information, and everybody comes to the realization that I don't know what it is, but it exists. And if I can reach that goal, and if I can get everybody on the same level in basic understanding that my grandmother, being a religious person, can sit back and say, yes, this phenomena is a thing, then I've accomplished at least that baseline.
So you said earlier that the platform, the making of the I don't know what to call it.
I think documentary works right now because we are going to be documenting a journey. So yeah. Even if there are other niche words like docu-follow or infotainment, etc., right. We're safe saying documentary. Yeah.
So fair. You said you said two key words that I kind of like focused on, and one of them was awareness, bringing the awareness of the general population, as many people as you can, and the other one was access. It's allowing you guys access to
absolutely
to different other platforms.
There are people in this world that know a lot more than what we do. There are probably people in this world that know what is going on.
And that have no avenue or inclination or talent for taking that information and giving it to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
You know, there may be somebody out there that has that $1 million proof.
Yeah.
And because I now have a film crew following me wherever I go, that person may be willing to come out and put a shape-changing metamaterial in my hand that I can turn from a triangle into a dodecahedron just by thinking about it. You know, that is a possibility. Mm-hmm. And this is where I want to go with it. I don't want to be in search of with Leonard Nimoy. I don't want to be, an Indiana Jones type of character. I want to find people that have answers that I can incorporate into my own idea of what this is. And if it along the way that one of our Red Epic cameras can look up in the sky and see a silver sphere when we're doing one of our experiments, so much the better.
Well, and we're not running off of mirthful ideas and fantasy here. We have the reports that came out of ATIP to lead us in the directions that we want to go. And those are very interesting, strange, and esoteric places that most of America thinks nobody researches that. That's not real. That's science fiction. And so those things have to be brought to the front of this. That's part of the education. It's not enough to come out here and say there's weird stuff in the sky, yo. We have to be able to say that we have observed the following scientific phenomena in conjunction with these things. And bad segue, but let me add to that. It was at least 10 or 15 years before America knew that the Wright brothers had achieved flight, let alone the rest of the world. There was a lot of the world that was already being bombed by aircraft before they knew that humanity had achieved flight. Okay. There were plenty of people around the world that probably people that still don't know that man's made it to the moon. So we talk in terms of teaching 8 billion people, but who we're really talking about is teaching the people who are all carrying one of these little screens or go home to a larger screen, or people that are informed by what we usually call entertainment. But that's our campfire. That is the campfire, and that is the shaman that teaches us about ourselves. And we've given up a lot of the authority as to who we are to that apparatus. We want to see that mirror and we want it to tell us, who are we? What do we like? What do we believe?
There are theories out there that talk about the CE5 and the ability to manifest your own reality or manifest the phenomenon through conscious controlled thought. And there are programs in schools that claim that they teach you how to do these things. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to be trained in this on camera and then go out and sit down in my version of a sweat lodge and go through the protocols and see if I can do it. Because if I can do this, then I think that that's pretty much definitive proof that anybody can. And if I can't, no data is the same as data.
That's one of the whole reasons that I learned to meditate and why I continue to do it and why I think that it's something that, especially in the future, will become more important to folks, is because in the end, you have to know for yourself. You cannot be told by another person what's real.
Yeah.
You have to experience it, or else you're being led around rather than living. Mm-hmm. And what you and I have talked about doing is simply, we want to crack the code to reality and then make it open source for everyone.
Yeah.
And we may not be able to do all of that by ourselves, but we damn sure can take a bite out of this.
So okay, you guys are going to be using remote viewers in the search for the truth. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It's not so much using the remote viewers in the search for the truth as it is trying to understand how remote viewing works.
Okay.
I'm vaguely familiar with the idea, with the concept of it. I want to see it happen. And if I can see it happen, I want you to be able to see it happen when I see it happen. It's one of the things that I believe that is affected by or combined with this phenomena is the human ability or inability to do remote viewing. And I think that, like we discussed earlier, the phenomena is not just one singular thing. It's a variety of different things under one umbrella. And if we can show that humanity, with training, with developed acumen, can do remote viewing, then I think that opens up a whole different path for a lot of people.
Remote viewing has an interesting connection that's hard to define with UAP. I think it's because the apparatus throughout the years that has utilized remote viewing has often found itself questioning mysteries. Because if you believe that the tool that you're using can look inside the locked box, well, it's just a question of opening your mind as to what a locked box is. And so in a lot of ways, it's ideas and locations and things. I think that people will find that as time goes by, that much like the UAP phenomena and how it was investigated over the course of a century, we're going to find that things like remote viewing are similar in that they were studied and then seemingly put away as useless, but only because they were found to be useful and they no longer wanted to share. Now, there's also plenty of people out there who claim that they can remote view, and you can find their videos on YouTube of them failing wonderfully in front of Vice Channel and other entities like that. If that's the case, we don't mean to disparage anybody's reputation, but that's what we'll have to show. Yeah. Now, we're really lucky because we've been able to go right to the top with, maybe not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but certainly one of the Jedi Council. And so those are my cute words, but we've got a heavy hitter that wants to speak to us. Someone who's a former trainer from the Defense Intelligence Agency who will legitimately lay out the absolute reality of what it is, or at least from his perspective or from the perspective of his training.
Yeah, and this goes back to the idea that we're not trying to use this as a cash cow. We're not trying to really monetize this or turn this into a money grab. This production is what is giving us access to the top remote viewer instructor of the Defense Intelligence Agency. I would not have had that access to this individual directly myself. But because this is a full-blown production, yeah, I'm talking to him.
Cool. You said something else earlier about helping people become aware of what their abilities are.
Yeah, the common consensus among those who are adept at remote viewing is that it's a talent that's inherent to all of us. Now, like like a lot of things, some of us are more prone to be athletic than others, but all of us are natural runners given a full and complete human physique. We're all natural marathon runners, whether we like it or not. So that leads me to believe that if this larger group of people that spent time training to a certain task all agree on that task, even though they have wildly disparate worldviews about religion or moral views, then I think that speaks to something that's natural inside all of us. And if that's something that all of us can cultivate, then it's going to get us closer to understanding who we are. Because if all of us are able to reach out and verify things in our reality in a different way than we were able to, that brings another level of trust amongst all of us. And it brings another level of inherent integrity. If we all know that everyone can check in on you, so to speak, I think that would be a really interesting thing to teach everyone. But for me, if there are aspects of our reality, if there are talents that we have or abilities that we have that may have been obscured or hidden throughout history for one reason or another, and we can bring those back up, well, then they're surely going to make us understand what it means to be human better than holding that information back.
You guys have talked a little bit about shamanism and the spiritual aspect, connecting with the indigenous people. It just occurred to me that their vision quest is pretty similar to a remote view.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
There are many aspects of many indigenous traditions, whether in North or South America, whether in Siberia or Northern Europe, or areas of Africa, Southeast. I mean, basically the whole world. I mean, I could keep, if I name all 7 continents, I guess we've named the whole world. I don't know about an Antarctic shamanistic tradition, but I can say I've spent a lot of time in the extreme. When I say extreme wilderness, I'll say away from people recently. And I'm a city boy. I'm a little bit of a peacock. You know, I'm not a country boy. I'm not afraid to get dirty, but I finally got away from the city for the first time in a way that I hadn't been, except being in the middle of the ocean. And when I'm in the middle of the ocean, I'm on a ship with at least 500 other people, and there's not exactly privacy and room for zen out there. But getting away from the city, getting into the country, I really felt like a different human being. I think we've all touched on that. I think we've all felt that peace, or that little bit of rest that comes with a vacation. It's why we look forward to those things, because we set aside all of our worries and everything else. It was very meditative to set aside that portion of myself for about 5 days, especially given the last year. And it was so transformative to me that it just keeps adding to the fact that these little aspects of us that bring us together, that show us the world at large, and that make us say yes instead of no, those are the things that I want to try to bring forth to people. I want to try to share that aspect of this with people, that we have to open our minds and our hearts to truly understand ourselves before we're ever going to be able to understand this.
In my personal opinion, I think that goal right there is even more important than finding evidence about UFOs. I think if people can... I had this thought, man, and it was really profound, and it just slipped away as soon as I started to talk about it.
I'm the opposite. And this is why I wanted Sean involved in this, because for me, I would not have even considered that as a possibility. I literally want to go out and I want to shoot lasers at Göbekli Tepe. I want to shove radiation into places that it shouldn't be shoved, and see if we can not.
How American of you.
Maybe not those places, but I want to do the nuts and bolts research to see. I don't want to take peyote and sit in a sweat tent and see that my spirit animal is a penguin.
Yeah.
I do. I wouldn't be happy with the penguin aspect, but
that to me is not where my enticement is. But I think this story, I think it needs both sides of that.
I agree.
Well, and I've had to really accept. It takes a lot to be the chill guy in the group. And I mean, I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I need.
He says this as he's sitting in the lotus position.
I'm really excited. This is going to embarrass Jeremy, but I'm really excited to see people watch Jeremy discover what it means to be human. And I'm not saying that he doesn't right now, but
I don't think I do. I'll straight up admit it. I don't know what it is to be human, and I think that's probably, out of the 8 billion people on this planet, I think that's the common answer.
I think that if you and I came out of this, and I know you wouldn't agree with me, but if you and I came out of this experience together with a better understanding of being okay in our own skin and able to look out for more folks together than just ourselves, and I'm not implying anything. I think if the two of us came out of this journey with those skills, we won. But I'm the artsy-fartsy one, so...
As long as I get to shoot lasers that go Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, but you got it. But if they crash, you're helping me resuscitate those fools, and you better say sorry.
That's fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
All right.
You know, I mean, that actually is as weird as this sounds for me to say this out loud. There is a possibility that you guys will see some kind of a craft.
Well, we're putting ourselves in UAP's way. I won't say harm's way, but we're gonna go out there and go, come at me, bro.
Has that actually gone through your minds? And
I think we've both gone to our wives and basically asked permission to go do something pretty stupid.
Yeah. I wouldn't. My wife has 100% veto power over everything, and she said as long as I don't bring anything home, she's okay with me doing whatever.
Both of us are aware that there are 2 American service members on disability for being in proximity of a UAP. That's another fact that a lot of people just completely missed out of the TV show Unidentified.
Yep.
He and I are also aware that, as also mentioned on that show, that the Italian military was successful in getting around a depleted uranium round through to strike one of these things. Now, that's not going to make a lot of experiencers happy, but Jeremy and I are announcing now to all UAP in the vicinity that if they would like to meet with us, my email is mintyhyperspace@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to.
Yeah, and my laser is 520 nanometers, so if they want to get it bounced off their shiny little metal ass, I'll be more than happy to point it at them.
Just tune your active camouflage to that frequency, and then come on down and meet us.
Yeah.
Don't radiate in the gamma, and we'd be happy to bring snacks.
If they're here, if they're poking us, if they're teasing us, if they're twisting us around, I want to poke and tease and twist right back.
Yeah.
I want to show them that enough is enough. If you want to say hi, use your words.
Yeah. The natives are going to start throwing rocks.
We're the natives, yeah.
We don't want to fight, but we want you to come down and talk to us, please.
Yeah. And I think that, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think it's events and activities and things like this where people go out and try to become proactive that we're never going to get the disclosure from the government. But I think that there's a damn good chance that we're going to bring disclosure to the government.
The declassification apparatus is either glacially slow or it's a nuclear option that's used by people who want something. I think as long as information keeps coming out of that apparatus that's able to encourage folks like us to look into repeatability and to see where can we refine some of these practices and make them repeatable, record them, bring them to folks and say, look, you can go do this. Here's how we did it. Here's all of our evidence. Now you go do it. If we do that enough times, this is going to be the status quo. It's no longer going to be the fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If what would make you guys absolutely stop this project? Cold, no longer continue in the pursuit of this endeavor.
The easy answer right there is if something endangered our families. I'll of course let Jeremy speak for himself. That's pretty much a no-brainer right there. For me, if I found out that I was complicit somehow in duping people, if I was part of something that was obfuscating the truth, that was curtailing people's humanity or rights, I would turn on this thing in a minute. One of the first questions I asked Lou Elizondo when we got the microphones off on the pier that day is I said, I looked him right in the eye and I took all of my acumen at interrogation and interview and I asked him very nonchalantly, are we the good guys? And I read him for everything I could. And I spent a long time with our friendship at a certain arm's length because I felt like I had an obligation to the world as one of the people who was close to this person who'd come out with these new ideas and things for us. And Lou doesn't want the attention. I understand that, so I won't perseverate on it. But I needed to find out for other folks. And that's a little narcissistic for me to put that all on my shoulders. I'm not going to lie about that. But I felt like I didn't know if there's anybody else that was going to be able to do that. And I was there in 2004, and I knew all the principles, and I saw all of the same data, and I was up on the bridge and saw some weird stuff in the sky. So I was in a unique position to be that I don't want to say truthful lightning rod, but I immediately came out the gate and was like, if there's any BS in this, dude, you can be sure I'm going to broadcast. Lou's never lied to me. man, he's a good friend. He's a hell of a professional. I really hope we get the chance to work together in the future more. I know that we're going to be working on a few projects, but I'd really like to really see what that guy has to tell us when he's really unfettered and has nothing in the way.
For me, there's only two things that would prevent me from going forward with this, aside from everything that Sean said. And it's not just things that would hurt my family. Throughout history, recorded human history, there are tons of anecdotal evidence about what happens to humanity when the gods are challenged and civilizations are wiped off the map. I don't want to piss off Zeus and have him decide that now is a really good time to hit the reset button on humanity. So if that even becomes a remote possibility, I'm done. The other thing is if somehow we find out that all of this is real, but not in the way that we thought, and this is terrestrial-based United States Defense Department technology that is keeping us safe from some boogeyman in some nation state, I'm shutting the hell up.
Good answer. Yeah, I agree with that. All of it. So I think that's a great place to end it. Is there anything else you guys wanted to share?
The only thing that I want to say is if any of your listeners happen to be a purchasing officer for Netflix, let us know.
Copy that. Okay, well, then all I have to say is best of luck in your endeavors. Be safe.
Amen. Yeah.
And, man, go shake hands with E.T.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to try to.
Thank you guys for doing this. Appreciate it very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Always.
Appreciate you.